The following is a presentation of the IH Sports Network. You're listening to the Monday Night Roundtable. For the next 2 hours, we'll talk local high school sports with the voice of the Oneida Indians, Tim Smith.
10-5, touchdown, Indians.
Give me the corners, 2 scores, baby.
Give me the corners.
The voice of the Scott Highlanders, Rick Keaton.
Throw the ball, has a receiver long upfield, chasing it down. Pitch made by Rylan Griffith. He'll take it all the way to the end zone.
Produced by the IH Sports Network, the Roundtable begins now.
Good evening. Welcome to this special edition of the Roundtable here on this Monday night. I'm Tim Smith. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, you'll find out soon enough. Ben Garrett will be talking in a moment, but he's playing hurt tonight, so we appreciate that. Ben, if you follow him on Facebook, you know he's been battling laryngitis. If you're not following on Facebook, you've made a pretty good decision. So the things that we're going to talk about tonight have to do with Scott High football, and in particular the turf field that is going to be added at Scott High School. And so there has been a lot of interest in this subject. And as with anything, we'll hear the good, we'll hear the bad. And this is a situation where tough decisions get made. And if you expect tonight that everyone's going to be happy with everything at the end of this discussion, that's probably an unlikely expectation. But hopefully you can be heard, and there's going to be good and bad in everything. And the decision is to take what's taking place and try to find the positive, I think, out of that. So that'll be some of the efforts of what we try to do tonight, is to find the positives that are going to take place here in the future of Scott High football. And certainly there's many positives to this. And if you have concerns about that, then you can mention those here tonight. So we are on Facebook tonight on the Independent Herald page, and you can enter a comment and a question. If you have a question for Director Hall or Rick Keaton or Ben Garrett, then you can direct those questions to them. And then also on YouTube tonight, we're on the IHSN, so your voice can be heard. And again, the expectation here tonight is if you have a concern, let's talk about it. Let's understand there's a concern there, and see if we can do something to ease those concerns. But also, let's take a look at the positive of what's going to happen out of this as well. It was a decision, in case you're unaware, that was unanimous from the Scott County School Board that a turf field will be installed for the Highlanders to play football on and many other things. So that's going to be talked about tonight. It won't be just Highlander football. That's 5, maybe 6 games a year if you're doing it for just that. But there's a whole lot more that's going to take place on this turf field. So, again, the panel will be Ben Garrett, it will be Rick Keaton, and it will be Director of Schools Bill Hall here to talk about this situation tonight. And then I will field your questions, and as we go along, when time is appropriate, we'll put your questions on the screen, let you be heard and ask your questions. Or it doesn't have to be, sometimes these Facebook threads get rolling and everything's either positive, everything's negative. If you've got a positive comment, there's no reason you can't toss that in as well tonight. So we welcome anyone's input here tonight. And again, not looking for winners and losers tonight, just looking to come together and get an understanding about what is going to be taking place. So with that long introduction, longer than it should have been, I will hand it off to Ben Garrett.
Well, so the original intent, guys, was that most folks who will be tuned in tonight have probably seen my Facebook post from, I think, Friday. I say that I was in support of this, so people know where I stand. Tim Smith is here because he's the unaffiliated, unbiased, whatever you want to call him. Now, Tim obviously cares a lot about the kids at Scott High, wants them to do well academically and athletically, but he doesn't have a connection to Scott High School. So he's here. He will be our moderator tonight, and he's going to play the role of host because, as you can hear, I have very little voice at all, and what little I got is not going to last long, so I'm not going to talk much. Rick Keaton is here not only as the voice of the Highlanders, and who knows maybe more than Bill Hall himself about Scott High football, but also Rick is a former county commissioner and a former county mayor, so he knows the civic side of all of this, because there have been questions about for example, I'll just throw this out there, why don't you fix the roads before you do a football field? Rick may decide to answer a question like that at some point because he knows all of that. And then, of course, Bill, I talked to Bill Friday, and Bill, you said that you wanted to address some of the things that were being said. And so tonight we're going to have an opportunity to do that. Tim has already alluded to this. This is not an effort to sell this project. It's already been decided. The board voted unanimously Thursday night, 6-0. There was one that was not there, but the ones who were there voted unanimously to approve the project, so it will move forward. But this is an opportunity for folks who have got concerns to be able to ask questions. So please ask your questions, and I'm sure we can get an answer tonight.
All right. Do you all have an opening statement?
First of all, thank you for allowing me to come in here tonight. I'll say that when we started this project actually about 4 years ago, okay, and I've heard the things and the talk and those type of things. At that point in time, I had Mr. Shannon go out and we reached out to some companies, came in, gave us some diagrams, some drawings, looked at the field, checked everything out. At that time, we were looking probably $750,000 estimates, but depending on what had to be done as far as from a structural standpoint, we reached out to multiple. Tennessee Titans has a grant, for these type of things up to $250,000, but you had to be in the surrounding county of Nashville, Davidson County. I hope Mr. Beatty doesn't mind me saying this, but I had Mr. Beatty draft a letter to the Haslam Corporation a little over 2 years ago and asking them for some help and some things with that. This project, when we looked at it, we got, and I'll go over some projects that's been done by our Board of Education throughout the years as far as what we've done from our reserve. Now, if anyone has questions about our reserve is what's built through the years and what we don't spend in the budget. Per se, if we don't spend $50,000 out of our budget in a year or $200,000 from our budget 1 year, it rolls into our reserve. By law, we're to have 3% of our total budget. Our total budget that we get from our TISA now funding formula runs at about $24 million, and that's not federal money that comes in, which federal money is normally about 10% of that. And federal, of course, it's on different, and it's got its different ways that you can spend the federal, and it's all monitored, as is our budget. We go through an audit every year as far as what every penny, what it's for and what it's done, and make sure that it's got the proper steps and procedures when it goes through. So we decided really about 4 years ago, and I reached out to all the board members. At that time, didn't feel like we were in a good position to where we could do some things. Want to let the reserve grow a little, because I give an example. I was showing the mayor here, the last 3 years, we bought 18 school buses. Last year, we bought 8. This past year, we bought 4. We really need to buy 8 more. We can keep buses on the road for about 17 years. We can't actually extend the life of those buses. But if we can get new buses and we can afford new buses, we want to get our buses. We want our kids to get there to and from safely. So, we knew in the situation having to do that. So we knew we had to, that hit us in the reserve also. We did some other projects in there too. If anybody has questions, I'll definitely answer. But we let our reserve grow a little. We felt like there's a couple of projects that we really wanted to do. Was both try to replace the playroom at Huntsville Elementary School and do the turf field project at Scott High School. I'll say this much with our schools. When I first came in there, number one was to improve first of all, the academic stature of our schools. I was looked at strictly as a sports guy. I'm always going to be that guy. I mean, I understand that and I know that. And I don't mind being that guy, because that's who I am. But when it comes to the daily thing, I always put the educational process first. And we'll go into some things, too, about what our teachers have as far as educating our children. I have Mr. Bond here with technology. We're second to none with our teachers and what they have. So we'll get into those things, too, if there are questions. But we felt like if we was going to get it done, it had to be done now. We know it's going to crimp our reserve a little, sure. But we're still going to be fine. We're still going to be operating manageable. We're still going to be close to a 10% threshold, hopefully, after both projects get completed. So that is good. At 5-6 years ago, our reserve grew to over $7 million. And we knew we had to put some things put forward in our schools, and we did that. This board made a concentrated effort to upgrade our schools and to try to get our facilities where they needed to be. So we've been able to do that. And we've done that without asking for a penny to go toward a tax increase or that. Now, I know this is still, people can say that, well, your reserve tax dollars going into that. But that's what this is for. But it's up for us to manage it, and it's for this board, they oversee this budget to make sure that what we do is to their wishes. And when I brought them this project 4 years ago, sure, there was apprehension. But any time that we're going and we're looking and we're seeing, and Mary will tell you, we've done a lot of upgrades in French drains, behind the stadium, behind the fence, on the field. We've got drains in the field. It is still not getting to where it needs to be. One quick story, and I'll hush, and you guys can ask me questions. But 2 years ago, I'm out helping paint the field. I love doing that. That's part of the coach, it's part of my thing. It kind of kept me connected and tied into it. I go help paint the field. So I'm standing there. We had rain in 14 days, and I always paint barefooted. So I'm out there, and I'm thinking, why is my feet wet? And I'm asking, well, the sprinkler's on. And he said, no. So I look down, and there's muddy water coming up between my toes, covers my feet. And I'm mindful of no rain in 14 days. So that's the kind of things that our kids have had to play on and they've had to deal with. And we've done our diligence as far as trying to improve those things to where I'm a grass guy, to tell you the truth, as far as with that. But I felt like at this point in time that it needed to be. And I also felt like that our kids, our school, and our community deserved it. Why can't we be as good as anyone else when it comes to a facility? Now, we still know we have upgrades to do there. We know that. And that'll probably be past my tenure, but there still need to be some things that are done in order to really improve those facilities. But we want our kids to feel as important as any kid in Knoxville, any kid in Anderson County, any kid in Campbell County, or any kid in a surrounding county that has it. We want this. So this is where we stood, and this is a decision we really come to about 4 years ago once we started this.
Rick, I know you've got questions, and Tim is going to, as questions come in on Facebook, he's going to make us aware of those and give Coach Hall an opportunity to answer those. If I could, Rick, real quick, let me ask 2 questions, and then I'm going to shut up and let you guys take this because my voice will be gone by that point. But, Bill, one of the comments that I've seen over and over and over in the past 4 days or whatever it's been, people have talked about the Huntsville playroom, and a lot of people feel like it's dangerous for kids to be in, and they say, why are you dealing with the Sky High football field instead of the playroom? Now, I know the answer to that, but I want you to address that first and foremost.
Well, that's also on the table, too. Actually, we've been 6 months waiting on drawings from our architect, Mr. Allen Hill. The board has already gave me permission to bid that project. Once we get everything finalized, we'll be meeting on April the 30th with their committee that they have. Sit down and look and see if they like the drawings, don't like the drawings, if they want to add, want to take away. And then we'll go from there. Then we'll bid the project. The playroom's never failed a fire marshal inspection. When we get our maintenance request, our guys go immediately to it. I've heard about the leaky roofs and all that, and it still may be. I can't answer that, but I know our last thing we got, I asked Mr. Shannon to pull all of his requests, and the last one he got from as far as a leak was in 2021, and immediately we went there. We just got one this month about air conditioning or heating unit went out, so our maintenance guys went immediately to do that. We have a great maintenance crew, guys. I mean, there's something that needs done. We try to get to it. We have new roofs in every school, basically. I mean, the exception of some of the ones that didn't need it. Lots have been paid by us. Lots have been paid from the ESSER funding. We were able to upgrade our HVAC systems with ESSER, and was able to build a new gymnasium for Fairview Elementary School on ESSER funding. Again, that's not BEP, that's not TISA funding, that's not our reserve. That is strictly government funding that comes from COVID. And let me explain this too. Anytime we do a project with government money, with federal ESSER money, we went to a committee on ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3. We asked our supervisors, our principals, teachers, even asked them from the community. We put out surveys. We asked what they wanted to see off those. You know, the number one thing, of course, was come on the committee was Scott High School. It was number one. Upgrade to Scott High School facilities. Number two was the Fairview Elementary School gym. Number three was the playroom. So we're getting all those three things. Now, one was able to do with Esser. Two things that we're going to do with us. Now, I'm committed to that. I've been committed to that. If you watch my board meetings, I said I've been committed to that. I feel like that it's something we can do, and I feel like it's something that's needed. This is not a want. I don't deal with wants. I don't try to work with wants. I try to deal with needs. And, you know, I said I made a commitment to upgrade our facilities while I was there. And to be able to do it without raising taxes a penny or ask for a taxpayer dollar. That we've gone to ask to raise taxes. Now, I know all this money where it comes from. I'm very appreciative of the fact of that. And when I go places that people come into our school, the first thing they say, wow, you've got new schools here, new schools there. Your county must really care about your kids. First thing is told to me. I say, absolutely, we care. You know, and I get some of the negative things kind of bother me that fact because we care. And I know these people care. And I know there's concerns, and I respect those. You know, I'm not mad at no one, and I'm not upset. I mean, I'm just the fact of, you know, we set this out as far as to upgrade, and we're going to get it done.
So the bottom line, you mentioned the three main projects. The gym at Fairview is almost complete now.
Yes.
It's almost finished.
Yes.
The football field at Scott High is moving forward. The last thing is the playroom.
Yes.
The architect is going to have you I assume, on April the 30th at your workshop, he's going to have numbers, financial numbers.
Well, we won't have numbers. That's got to be bid, okay? The numbers will come in after we bid the project.
But you'll have maybe an estimate.
We might have some estimates. Yeah, I'm not going to give estimates because you give a company what an estimate is.
Right.
Next thing you know, so we'll bid the project and see what we got from there. You know, we're able to do this football field, and I've mentioned this, on a state consortium that does have to be bid. Okay? They were a sole consortium or TIPS. If they have those things, we don't have to bid the project because we belong to those. Sourcewell. Sourcewell. If they're a Sourcewell project, which Field Turf is, then the project doesn't have to be bid. Just had to be approved. So that's where we stand with that.
And the other question I had, a lot of comments have been made. You've talked about what the board has done, various schools. Let's talk specifically about Scott High School.
Yes.
A lot of things have been mentioned. Leaky roof, it's been replaced.
Every section of roof at Scott High has been replaced. You want cost? Let's see. Let's see. One section. Let me go right here. The first one we did, the first project was the new roof SHS, $334,000. We did that. We also did another one at $130,000. Now, we just recently did the one over the little theater. Okay, so every section of Scott High School has been replaced. We did the roof over the boiler room here recently, and that's what I'm talking about. That was coming over about $98,000. So every section there. We did a roof at Robbins when we did the roof at Scott High School. That was about $170-something thousand. Let me give you exactly. Let's see, new roof, $157,000. The roof at Robbins. That's the old section of the school. New school didn't do that, but we redid that because there was one section up there I went and looked. It was completely dangerous. We had to move kids out of the class. So we've done it, but it needed to be, because we're still using that building. We're still active down there with classrooms and things going on, after-school activities. So, that needed to be done. We did that. So
I guess where I'm going with that,
yes,
the roof has been replaced at Scott High. It's not leaking anymore.
No, sir.
The seats in the little theater have been replaced. That
was done with ESSER funding.
Right.
Yes, new carpet plus the new seats, new little theater. We're replacing some of the floor down there in front of the stage, and that's kind of bittersweet because that's the last little bit of the parquet that's left from the old school, from when it was first. We had the old parquet gym floor, and then we had the parquet down on the floor of the little theater. So we're going to also try to replace some of that too.
Security has been mentioned. A lot of upgrades to security over the years. Rick, was still getting his basketball games through the main entrance from the math pod, the 400 pod, into the gym on the, I guess, the south corner of the gym. I can't do that anymore because the gates have been put up. I always thought that was the last maybe weak link for someone to get into the school because that door had to stay open during the day for students to go back and forth. Now there are gates up, still open there, but there are gates up, fences up. You can't get in that way anymore. The overall take, though, from my perspective, is there have been a lot of things said about neglecting needs at Scott High to do a field. Scott High's in pretty good shape, isn't it?
It's in great shape. We've made safety upgrades, and I'll never go through safety plans, especially in live, but we've made a lot of improvements with safety, because we had to. That was built, and Mayor Keaton can remember this. He probably a student there at that time. The open concept. While the classrooms were open, when I was there, it was open concept. Probably Miss Leetta was there. It was open. When GB was there, open classrooms. They may have fixed some walls and stuff by that time, but it was all open. And you had partition dividers. So they went and did walls. So we came in. We had some help from the businesses. Takahata helped us with the business donation and stuff there too, along with what we used from they just want to do it out of kindness. And we put doors on every classroom. We didn't have that. Now we do. We had to go in, and it had to be go and do some upgrades to the walls and stuff there, but we got a door in every classroom now that locks. We have doors that you can't get into each pod now that lock, safeties. So those things, at Scott High, if you remember back, it was just so open. And when you went into school, you get anywhere you wanted to. Can't now. You're stopped, with doors, and you got to be buzzed in.
Right.
And that's every school's that way, though.
Right.
We had that at every school.
With that said, Rick, it's time for you to talk. I've said all I can say.
Well, thanks, man. Coach, you mentioned this just a while ago. A few years ago, I was county government, and I had a chance to help with some school building improvements. Robin School, to name one, Birchfield.
Yes.
Name another.
Thank you.
Like that. And I went around. I had the wrong concept, I guess, in my brain. I thought that, hey, teachers teach. Students were there to learn, some more so than others, things like that. But I talked to some teachers. I've got many friends that are teachers across this county. Many of them have retired over the years. And I said, why aren't our students doing better? Can you guys not do better? And they said, well, when you're worried about the ceiling falling, or you're worried about the old Robin School, wood floors falling in there like that. And they said, we'll guarantee you that if we can get better classroom environment, our kids can do better. Mm-hmm. Now, they made a believer out of me, and I really believe that. And I think the same thing about facilities at schools, whether it be academic, whether it be a band room, whether it be a trailer to haul band equipment in, whatever. That's been another thing I say out there. But I do believe that if you want to have pride in the school, that a lot of it, guys, goes back to the facilities that you can provide. I'm a little embarrassed at times when I go someplace else and maybe, yes, they've got carpet, or a gym that's got, should I say it, that's got 12 urinals down through there and 16 stalls, and, our bathrooms in the gym are, a lot less than that. Down on the football field, I sort of get embarrassed by that. And, I think our kids, I think our community, and this is my opinion, deserves to have, maybe we can't have the best of the best, but we can have better than what we've had. Absolutely. And I think this is a good step forward. One thing, we talked about football playing on the field.
Yes.
We talked about soccer playing on the field. And if I'm you, the director, I figure out a way that every one of my 2 middle schools would play their games there on that field. And guess what the TSSAA did last week? They approved girls flag football.
Yes.
I hope that our school can see that in the near future.
Well, we'll see.
So all these things can be played on one facility, and you don't have to worry about it. Our kids can practice without being – we didn't even mention our practice field.
Yeah.
It's looking better because a lot of work's gone on there since last year. But the fact of the matter is it's a muddy mess if it even rains, depending on how much it rains. And the field, you have to stay off the football field because it's so fragile. Yeah. I mean, we could have been doing a lot of – am I wrong when I say this?
No,
we
you'd be
could have
correct.
been playing a lot more games and stuff if we'd had this 4 years ago or even 5 years ago, and you and I have talked about it for 10 years.
You'd have been correct
about doing that. So.
And the price not going to get any cheaper, of course. You know, like I said, when we looked at it 4 years ago, it was looking $750 in that range. But you know, like I said, COVID drove everything up. You know, so and it may come in a little less than what they're saying. You know, depending if they get some surprise as they start digging, but they don't think so, according to the core studies. But you know, you're right. The practice field has been in bad shape. We've used the track between there for years. Was able to, you know, get some stuff. Thanks a lot of help, Coach Robert Wright. You know, come out and did a tremendous job for us there, and all the other coaches come through and got the practice field in better shape. We, you know, on those days, especially on Thursdays, you go over, you know, do a lot of your game preparation on the game field. But there were just times it was just too wet. We couldn't, and a lot of times there too. So, you know, this will be a game changer
in a
lot of ways. You know, we mentioned soccer. We mentioned middle school, women's high school soccer, high school football, middle school football. You know, some of the post talks about our middle schools dwindling, the 2 programs. Well, right now, it's not just Scott County, it's nationwide. There's been an influx of football is not play in as many. But in order for us, you know, to continue to be competitive, we got these both schools of weightlifting with the middle schools are going on right now. Got kids working and they're excited. We've had as many as far as what we're looking at, and I don't know what the total numbers will be. You know, we looked at about 67 kids, and it may be 40, maybe 40, maybe right now I can't say that. I just know that that's kind of what they're preparing for, and we hope so. If that's the case, then, you know, I can recall one time I had maybe 50 on the team, but 29 of them were freshmen. And then I recall a time where I had 38 to 40. I recall a time when Gary Sixton had 22 and made it second round of the playoffs.
Right.
Because I went there the next year, and I think he had 8 tremendous seniors that graduated, and then I had a good group of sophomores that were there. You know, took a lump or two, but we came, you know, the 3 years we went 6-4 and upset Austin East team, missed the playoffs by 1 point on a Fulton beat us 22-21 on the last play of the game. So, you know, there's been times where we've had, you know, 40, 50 kids, and there's been times we've had in the 30s. So right now, you know, if we have 50, 55 kids, it's a win. If we have 40 to 45 kids, it's a win because we have kids playing football in a great facility.
We've already seen improvement out there. Field house. Let's address the field house. It's been painted. The eaves have been painted. Everything's been done. New lights on the football field. Maybe people don't realize that. 4 or 5 years ago, a brand new scoreboard and speaker system.
Every school has a new scoreboard. Yep. We bought every middle school a new scoreboard. We got one per year. We want to make sure they all had a new scoreboard. We got one at the high school. Got one of the basketball a few years back before that. So like I said, we made a commitment to the upgrade of the facilities. And, we'll talk about upgraded classrooms too. I mean, because we've done some things in there as far as Promethean boards, those type of things for our teachers. So
let's talk about some of the things that the board has done for the teachers, Promethean boards and other things over the last few years.
And Greg Bond can help me out with this too, because a lot of it we've been able to do with ESSER. It's been a big, tremendous, especially for us academically. Every teacher has one of these that we're sitting here looking at behind us. Every teacher has that in the classroom. They have their own teaching station in their classroom, not just a regular classroom, but physical education. Every teacher in our system has that. That's at $3,000 a piece. Every student has a laptop and was able to purchase that with the first round of ESSER money. We'll make a commitment to the board next year, because when ESSER goes away, then we're going to have to make some tough line decisions. We're going to continue with this program or we're not. So, and again, that would come from inside our budget. Right. And so we'll go from there.
Man, can I give you just some rapid-fire questions?
Absolutely.
We do have quite a few folks.
Yes, sir.
Good questions, by the way.
Yeah, we want to make sure we get some questions. So some of them run along the same lines, and some of them you've talked about, but I think they're looking for just a general summary answer, and those would be ones that go in like this. So the first question we had at the beginning was, why can't the money be put towards fixing the schools instead of a football field? And similar to that are some questions that say, so fix the football field for cheaper and still have money left for other improvements needed for other schools. And it's not about the football team not being deserving. It's about the fact that there are more important improvements that are needed. So those are kind of along the same line. And you've talked about some of the improvements.
We've made some vast improvements. And believe me, when we started, when I first came into this job, I sat down with Ryan Keaton was the budget director at the time. And we went over to the finance office, and we made a list of, we did a 5-year project of some of the things we wanted to do. And, of course, on that list was a new school for Scott High School. At that time, we estimated that school at $11 million. Along that, too, was any upgrade as far as improvements in those buildings we wanted to do. And we've done those things. We've done a lot of things. I mean, are there some things we still want to do? Absolutely. But as far as inside the walls of those schools, guys, we're in pretty good shape. Like I said, we made sure, number one, they're going to stay dry with all new roofs on every school. We've taken out asbestos in a lot of the rooms, put in new floors, new carpet in some areas. Like we talked about the upgrades to the little theater.
I have a similar question. This one's from Diana and Kenny Richardson, and this one says, how is it that the Huntsville Elementary Gym was denied funds from the reserve, but now they can be used for turf?
Well, they were not denied. Like I said, when they asked a year ago, no one denied anything. I'll tell you this has been me. When I put down, if we're going to put bricks, and we're going to do that, I felt like there was a physical responsibility too for our county commission to help. Now, we will be able to still probably use some of the rural school debt toward that building, but that will come from our reserve as well, okay? Whatever comes apart from that rural school debt, that will be used from our reserve as well. I wanted to wait till I could get it to a point where I felt like we could do both projects. I feel comfortable right now we can do both projects, and we're committed to doing both projects.
Okay. All right. And, Rick, you may be more the one to answer this one because this one goes back a little bit. No offense there, right? Don't take offense to that.
No, I'm 29 years old. I can't deny it.
It asked, do the taxpayers still owe on Scott High as much as when it was built?
No, sir.
Okay.
The original Scott High debt's been long paid.
And also the debt with the Huntsville schools has been paid.
Yeah.
Okay, that just come off.
Yeah. I think even the math pot at Scott High, I think that's even been paid for. So that's gone.
There is a project that was done with the Amoresco. That was the upgrades with new carpet and stuff back then with the new lighting system, the new lights and stuff that was done probably in 2010.
That's about right. Yeah.
And I think that was a year before I came in. That debt will be paid off in 2027.
And that was,
we are paying that from our budget. I'll say that.
And that included some other things like the cafeteria.
Yes,
solar energy to heat the water in the cafeteria. How many people knows?
Yeah,
that's been there like that. Changed a lot. There's been a lot done that people don't realize.
Rick, you were county mayor from 2006 to 2010. You were county commissioner. I think you went into 1998.
Yes.
Had the school been paid off at that point? Do you remember?
I do not think so. Okay. I think it was like 30 years in the beginning to do that.
Okay.
And I remember one of the first projects that the school board came to us on the commission when I was there, probably in either 98, 99, 2000, something like that, was there was a special program out there that you could borrow, I think, up to $5 million. And the county commission borrowed that $5 million. Had to be paid back, I think, in 13 years. So the county commission borrowed that $5 million, and that's the funding you just mentioned that came to fruition in the year 2000. I'm pretty sure that
that was the upgrades that were done in one area.
That was done there, yes.
And then I think Ms. Wilson did the Amoresco project, which has really helped with our energy savings, with the lighting and stuff in the building. I think that comes off in 2027.
And that was designed, the savings that you recouped
back into payoff
from lighting and all that stuff.
Yes.
Paid that off.
Yes.
And that was a great project.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
And of course, I'm going more with the questions, but I do want to throw up there. We do have Allie Baker as a parent says she appreciates the upgrade for the students and thanks you, Coach Hall, and the board, Director Hall and the board for that. But, of course, we do have still continuing some questions. And so another one it looks like would be, I think the next one I have would be, this question has been asked a couple of times as far as the usage of the field. Will the Scott County Storm be authorized to use the turf field for home games?
I think Mr. Hamby mentioned that the other day, that we're going to look into letting the Storm use that field. So that answer as right now would be yes.
And the Storms play on Saturday.
Storms play on Saturday.
He made a comment about and maybe on Saturdays.
If you heard Mr. Hamby with his thing on the other day, because, when we discussed all of this, that was part of the project too. We want this to be a community-oriented field. We want it to be utilized. We want it to be people take care of it, of course. But we want also to benefit all. And like I said, we're going to open it up to our middle schools to play. We're going to open it up to if we have to have a middle school soccer tournament out there, those type of things. We want that field to touch Scott County students and be able to utilize it.
That's actually, I love that answer because these youth league programs are so important to the future.
Absolutely.
Scott
yes, they are.
And
we know that.
Both local schools, and I think that's great for the Storm kids to get to play
Absolutely.
on a quality field like
Absolutely.
that. That'll be tremendous.
Absolutely.
Next question comes from Xavier Parton, and it is, will this field be ready for play this fall?
Well, Xavier, I'm going to tell you that right now the first scoop of dirt is supposed to be come out directly after graduation. Once graduation is complete, the project will be started. The project date is set to finish for September 6th. Now, that's the latest date they gave me. Our first home game, September 13th. So we're on a little crunch time here.
If there's a good news, it's our first 3 games on the road.
First 3
this
games
year.
on the road.
So
yes,
they're still using the old practice field
Absolutely.
and stuff over there. But
Absolutely.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
The timeline.
Well, we're hoping so, Xavier. Thank you for the question. Thanks to everyone for the questions too. By the way,
I got a couple of questions I think that run along the same, so I'm going to pop them both up here. The first one here is from Beth and Jordan Cooper, and it's what's the maintenance cost difference between turf and a grass field? And along those same lines, I think if you can answer in the same breath on that one, Christy Garrett Sharp says, how often will a tire field need to be replaced, and how much does it cost to maintain yearly?
Well, pretty much maintain yearly zero, because there's a sweeper they give you in order to sweep the little
Pellets
that's in it. What they tell us, 12 to 15 years, you may go into repaint. If you have to returf the whole thing, you're looking probably at $100,000. Alcoa just tore theirs up because they can put new turf down. They probably had it 15 years. They just went back with a new turf system. Number one, to upgrade. This, guys, is the top of the line that we're putting in.
There's 3 grades.
Three grades. This is the top. This is the safest. This is the as far as yearly maintenance, it's zero. And the difference being, well, I'm going to tell you, Mr. Henry, our athletic director, was at Claiborne County. Now, quote me, I'm just repeating what he had told me and what he had heard from the, the soccer coach or AD at Claiborne High School, was that they had just redone their football field, put down grass, and I'm guessing with a sprinkler system, resawed the whole works, excavation, coming in around $700,000. Now, that was the number that he gave me today. Now, if that's factual or not, I don't know. I've not spoken to the guy myself. We've resodded that field twice. First time we did it, we just spot sodded. We had to do a lot of excavation work, and back then you could probably we got probably a third of the sod that time for probably $35,000, $40,000. But we tore the sod in half and just spot it and threw it everywhere. Now, if you put it down, you're probably talking $200,000-$300,000 just for the sod, not including any type of excavation work or that thing with it. The drainage system at our school, like I said, we've put thousands already in it trying to fix it, either on the field, off the field, or behind the field, and it's not working. So we feel like it's time right now to get the people that can do it and get it off and not have to worry about it.
Let's talk about the things that go into the maintenance of the field.
Yes.
You got to sprinkle, got to water it.
Got to water it. Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to keep good Bermuda grass
Absolutely.
there.
Yep. Bermuda loves heat. Bermuda loves water.
Yep, those two things.
Yes.
Nobody's mentioned the fact that, hey, you've got to paint it every home game. I mean, it's a 4 or 5 hour chore to put 4 or 5 people out there and paint.
$3,000, $3,500
a year.
It's not getting cheaper.
Yeah.
When I was painting, we spent it when I was coaching. Golly, that's 20 years ago. We spent about $2,400 a year for paint.
Mowers. The cost to pay somebody to mow it there.
We bought a Gangs mower years back. That was about $12,000 to buy. We bought it used. And let me say this much too. We had 2 guys when we went Bermuda system. A guy named Dr. Tom Samples, who was the lead soil guy, University of Tennessee, who came in, guided us what to do, how to do it, when to put the chemicals down. We're going to do this. And you have to buy all this. And this stuff's not cheap. How much water it needs. You know, you say, yeah, you got a lot of water stand on. No. You got to water that field. You know, that root system. If you don't, it dies. If you'll see it, or another grass, if Muner grows, it kills out a lot of the other stuff. We had so much chickweed and other stuff in the field. We was having to put the chemicals to it. Still couldn't get it all off. But we spend thousands in doing that every year. We pay a guy to mow a contract every year, which he's going to be happy because he's going to get probably about 18 hours every couple of weeks of his life back.
Oh, yeah, that
includes
mowing about 3 times a week.
And if you watch it mow, and you'll see where there's no rain on it and really no water on it, you'll see how much he almost gets stuck. He had to really go. He couldn't put the gangs more on it. It was heavier.
That's right.
It was marring up. And
I got a couple more rapid fire questions if I can for you,
Sorry.
kind of along the similar lines. Rick, I'm gonna put this one on you. And this is a question I think you all have already talked about, but it says, how soon will the taxpayers' taxes be raised because of this?
it will not. We're not asking anything for the county to do this. This comes strictly from our reserve that we have. We're not asking the taxpayers to burden this or to pay a penny on this or to raise any taxes.
And you're not paying it out of the reserve all at one time.
As far as, well, what we'll do, we'll set that money aside.
That's right.
And then they'll be in segments where they may take first month this many thousand, however it comes from there.
So along that line, we've got a question from Greg Smitty Smith. How much is in the reserve?
Right now, I didn't get to go to our last finance committee meeting. We were sitting close to $5 million. We've done some amendments. We're probably close to $4.5 million, give or take a little probably. We've had to do some budget amendments here recently to pay off some stuff. We'll probably start the year after we pay the field off. We're hoping to be close to $3 million.
I've got one more. Diana and Kenny Richardson. It says that wasn't the point. Parents were told during the board meetings that those funds were for school buses and other needs.
Well, they were at the time, and we made a decision too. We were supposed to buy 8 buses again this year. Okay, we bought 4. As I've shown, we bought 8 the year before. We bought 4 this year, and we did that in order so we could do these projects. Okay, so that was a big thing. And we felt it important to do the project. That being one of the projects as well.
Another question, I'll just throw in a question about budgeting for the future. So turf, 10 years, $100,000, $1 million for turf, about 10 years of lifespan. Is that what you're hearing?
Well, we're about 12 to 15.
20.
Yeah,
15 to 20.
Depending on, yeah. And like I said, this is top of the line.
So, do you budget for the future a certain amount of money? So if it's going to be 20 years and it's going to be million, are you putting 5 aside every year?
You don't. If you have to resurface it, you're not talking doing the whole thing again.
It's just the rug.
It's just
that
a
goes
rug.
down. Yeah.
And if the rug is good, you just repaint.
Gotcha.
So, we're hoping to get 25 years out of this.
I have a.
Before you ask a question, can I make another point that
Absolutely.
you didn't make
Yes.
on the tax increase? Rick would be the guy to say this, but I think there may be, with a few folks, a little bit of a misconception.
Yes.
The school board cannot unilaterally, take
Does not
authority
set
unilaterally.
rates,
The school board has no authority to raise our
Absolutely
taxes
not.
whatsoever. You would have to go to county commission
Absolutely.
to do that. Folks, I'm here to tell you, if you go to county commission meetings, if you went to county commission right now and said raise our tax rate for a football field, what would they do?
They'd all look at me and say, no way.
Yeah.
First of all, I wouldn't
they
do
would
that.
laugh at you.
I would not do that. Okay, I know that. I know what people pay, and I understand that. But I wouldn't do that, and that's why I'm saying we put there's $8 million in projects over 11 years. That's come from S reserve that we roll back into budget that we've put toward our schools. The majority of it, like I said, has been school buses, bus garage, those type of things. Over $5 million in that in the past 13 years.
Can I make another quick point for perspective's sake?
Yes.
Greg Smith asked how much is in the reserve. You said
Yes.
about $4.5 million.
Yes.
For perspective, the state mandate for your reserve is what?
3%.
3%.
They
and
want
you're
you.
at
We're at
10%.
No,
right?
no, we're probably 20 something, which is
Okay.
good. Well, I ask other people. Say, well, what's your reserve? They say, well, we're at X amount of million. We don't have a reserve like Knox County or Loudoun County or North City.
But as a percentage of your budget, you do.
As a percent of our budget, we're healthy, and we've done that. I think we've made good decisions. I think we've done some things that have and we've not shied away when our kids have needed things. And I think we've been able to, and ESSER's helped. ESSER funding has helped us a lot to get things that we need. Now, this is not funding for salaries, okay?
And before you go there, let me say because that is a comment, a criticism.
Yes.
And we do have a question here.
Yes.
And I'm going to pull that up. And one of the reasons I asked about planning for the future and setting aside money to replace this turf when and if, because the time will come when it has to happen. One of the points in this one that's going to pop up here from Erica Hope, there's teachers on welfare, but you need a fake grass field. But you're differentiating the salaries, and the salaries, if you're going to give a salary bump this year, then you have to have that in the budget for next year and the next and the next and the
Absolutely.
next. That was the point I was making.
It is reoccurring. You know, we can't take money from this reserve and put toward salary, because once you this is totally separate from your budget that comes in with what the state teacher funding formula gives you. Okay, this year the state minimum starting teaching salary will be $44,500. Okay, last year it was $42,000. We were $500 above state minimum. That's the first time we've been able to go above state minimum in salary. We were able to do that. We got some extra money in our TISA because of the funding formula that they use, or CTE program. We have a lot of kids. We're an economically disadvantaged program. You get more money for that. You get more money for different type students. Those type of things helps you with your funding. And by doing that, the state gave us extra funding. Governor Lee put in $125 million extra in the education budget this year for teacher raises. Not just Scott County gets that portion. We get a portion of 145 districts right across the state. We get maybe an extra $400,000. I think last year we got an extra $300-something thousand to put toward those raises. We have we have a 20-year salary schedule where they get a bump each year in teaching salary. Now, we're not able to do what Knox County does. We don't have a tax rate, tax base, or get the local. I'm appreciative of our county. We get our maintenance of effort. They meet the maintenance of effort by the state that they're supposed to do.
Which is typically, and a lot of people don't realize this, local government has to put 12.5% roughly into the school budget. The rest for teacher salaries, state and federal monies are like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that, hey, the county's funding it all.
No,
the county's not. So.
No, you're funding, like I said, about 12%.
Yep, 12 to 12.5%.
And and we're very appreciative of that because they meet the maintenance of effort, and we take that goes into our salaries, those type of things like that also too, and so it also enables us to help with some other programs. So,
all right, another very frequent mention about this, and it has been since artificial turf's been around. And this one comes from Mickey Egerton, and she cites that it's been proven that turf causes 16% more injuries. I've seen percentages as high as 20%, and I know that that you have the crumb rubber in the field, which there's been some studies, some concerns with that. So tell us about looking into the health.
Well, the guys that we work with, Field Turf out of Georgia, they do all their studies with the American Medical Journal. They are considered the safest. They're considered because the type of base they use, as far as like a sand base, they try to get as close to the natural grass as possible. UT, for example, they have 27 inches of sand on their field, on their grass field. And guys, football, you can get an injury just as easily as you can on grass as you can on turf. When you're in the trenches, I saw especially with my son playing in college, I watched, they played on turf every day. The company that put this turf down put that turf. The company that did just going to do hours did Elizabethan High School, and they do majority of everything in Georgia plus East Tennessee. They're also, like I said, putting down the Cincinnati Bengals. They're putting down the Charlotte Carolina Panthers and the Seattle Seahawks as we're speaking. So they do all their studies with American Medical Journal. They look into everything. They look into all the NFL Players Association studies and what they've got. It could be, sure, but they are making so much better advances in this as far as the type of synthetic they're using, the type of what they're using underneath the surfaces and everything there. Well, that cleat's not just grabbing and sticking unlike just a regular carpet. You're getting the feel of grass, you're getting the feel of sand, you're getting those things. But the bad thing about football is you're going to get an injury where you play on grass or you play on turf. So, we feel like our situation where you're slipping a lot, I've saw some of our kids, try to make a cut. I watched a kid, Sunbright, about 7 years ago, make a cut on grass. Nobody touched him. ACL goes. I saw my son break 2 collarbones on grass. So I've seen those things happen just because it's injuries happen. And we pray and hope that no one gets hurt. We try to teach the game safely, try to teach the tackling correctly, protecting yourself or running the football. We try to, teach those things. But, football is played with violence. And you got to have a certain type of mentality in order to play it. And those things are going to happen. That's the ugliness of the sport.
Well, I'm not going to pick on cheerleading, but, based on a per capita number, there's almost as many injuries cheerleading as there is football. It's you don't understand why that happens. It's the tumbling, it's the passing and stuff. When there's movement, body stresses and everything like that, accidents happen, and it's fortunate. I don't want to ever see any child hurt like that. Matter of fact, I think our program's rehabbing 2 knees right now.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, so
from last year.
Yeah.
Stepping away from the injury, question from Carol Russell. Why do you have a reserve? What's the reserve for? Where does it come from?
Reserve comes from what we don't spend in our budget each year. It's rolled over since
you don't have to give it back.
Don't have to give it back.
And it's required by law.
And we can use it for capital projects. We can use it for emergency situations, but it's required by law to have a certain percentage. It's money that's not spent from your yearly budget. For say when you budget X amount for technology, you budget X amount for substitute teachers, you budget extra amount for maintenance, extra amount for bus garage. If you budget and then you come in where you don't spend all that there, then it goes into your reserve.
And as a state school, I think you mentioned you're supposed to have a certain amount in
your
reserve. The state says you got to be right here.
You got to be there,
trouble.
or they come and get you.
The state requires that, just as the state requires your local county body to maintain that maintenance of effort each and every year.
Absolutely,
that's required by law. You fail to do that, and guess what? The the state board does, the state of Tennessee does. They cut off your funding.
Yes, they do.
They just cut you off. So.
All right, now let's drop to the other side. Brandon Potter says here, turf good, but what about new bathrooms and field houses that are much needed?
Well, that's the thing too, Brandon. We're glad you asked that question. That's probably going to be down the road a little bit. We got to let the reserve grow. We have some ideas, we have some plans, and it's needed. Believe me, we know that. But we can't do it all at once, and we're going to take care of what needs to be done now and then come back and hopefully do some things.
And you and I talk twice a year about new concession stands, new public bathrooms.
Yes, we do.
We've talked about the
my board knows
field
too.
house there like that. I mean, and they're very aware of that, and I appreciate
all
that.
These questions that and thank you and thank everybody for the questions, by the way. We had, that's some things that we've discussed. We know that we can't do it all at once. Again, if we do that, then we're down that threshold where we can't. We feel like if we can do these 2 big ones right now, and we can come back and do some things later. And I'll say, somewhere down the line, we got to get new bleachers at Huntsville Middle School.
And the thing we talk about reserve, you may hear it referred to as a fund balance. Remember, that's the emergency fund too.
Yes.
If something bad happens
there,
we
got to have it.
You got to have the money.
Boiler goes out.
Yeah, boiler goes out.
Well,
maybe your roof gets blown off, and you can't wait 6 months on the insurance company.
So we got to do it.
I mean, so you've got to have that reserve for
exactly.
emergencies.
And that's why we've tried to, like I said, we've done a lot of things in reserve. We also want to keep to where we can if those situations, it just makes good sense to do that. I mean, we've always tried to be very upfront. We've tried to be open. When we mentioned this project months ago, I think you did a thing about it. But this project, like I said, we've looked at this for over 4 years. We've reached out for grants. We've reached out for, like I said, with Tennessee Titans, and my county attorney, we drafted a letter to the Haslam Foundation. We got nowhere. So we knew if this was going to get done, we had to do it.
All right. Jeremy West, staying on the reserve, says, can the reserve be used for classroom materials?
Not materials. We could, but a lot of that we can do within our budget. A lot of times we have used it, but a lot of times we budget those. We budget as part of the things we do budget for. Each teacher gets so many hundred every year through the old BEP, to buy classroom materials. Okay, if they need something extra, each school has something extra. We give them to a teacher allotment that is there, also for professional development. Mm-hmm. Each school also has their own budget as well. So, but teachers are allotted. Used to be 200, 300. That was through the BEP formula, which they can do at the beginning of every year to buy some classroom materials. Books, we buy books. I'll tell you, the books cost you probably, that's another, we just bought, was it math a while back, an adoption cycle was every 6 years, you spend $250,000 on books. Of course, you've been in the business,
Yeah.
And, they just extended one for a couple of years, so we're not going to have to buy, for another year or two. But we just spent, probably in essence $250,000 on books.
Still receiving questions. So if you can just put a bow on, the question is, what about the playroom at Huntsville?
Yes, like I said, we are committed to do that project, guys. We are committed.
Okay. A couple other questions. These are more of a light nature. And it's Carlene Terry asks to please explain who sets the costs of entry into ball games.
It is set. It is
That's
set
a good
by
question.
It's a great question. It's set by a region. Our region sets the cost. Now some might do a little less. When you have your region meeting, it is set by the athletic directors and the coaches going there. They meet. Knox County, they may be at $8 or $10 per game. I think last year we had $8 per game because we do the family pass. We try because we understand, guys, but it's set by region. Now, when you get to make the state playoffs, all those games are set by TWSAA. Cost of officials has to come out of the gate. You're paying anywhere probably,
and that's set by the TWSAA.
That's set by TWSAA. That's probably for a football high school game. Golly, been a while since I've been a principal.
It's about $115 or $20 per plus
official,
mileage.
Plus mileage. So you're looking at about $800, somewhere in that per game. Comes directly off the gate.
Same as basketball. It's $115.
Per person with a three-man crew.
Yeah.
Okay. We do have somebody, Tanner Abbott is saying that lived in Oneida his whole life, and now in Corbin they just dropped $9 million on their stadium with new turf, and so sounds like Tanner says you're getting a bargain.
Well, we got a new stadium.
Red Helms don't waste.
Hey, I've seen that stadium, and Rick built. You guys know Scott High was up at Knox Central, just up the road in Barberville this past year, and they've done the same thing.
They've done the same thing.
That entire region up there is pumping a lot of money, way more than $1.3 million per school into their football program.
I will say this much too, that I think our neighbors across the state line just voted Tuesday night to put down a new turf field in McCrory County as well. And I'll say this much too, as long as I know we've talked a lot of athletics tonight, but our main focus at school is, as far as for an athlete, is a student athlete. And I think it was Dr. Tressa Murphy sent me a thing from a Harvard study showing about how new facilities, whether it be athletic or with the school, really improves overall morale, plus your score, especially in a distressed district. We had 2 reward schools last year. We are outperforming a lot of people that are around us academically. We work closely with the Elgin Foundation. Great group that comes in. They do some teacher training. They help provide for half for a reading coach in our system. And any school that they've been in right now, especially around Kentucky and Virginia, they are doing well. But the schools, as far as in the area they're doing here in Tennessee, we are outperforming those people. They want to know what we're doing, what Scott County doing, how they doing it. So I want people to understand that too. We're not, even though this is it, but I think improving your facilities, as I mentioned about thanking them for, the new schools for Birchfield and Robbins. Each school, with the exception of probably Scott High School, which is 53 years old, it's kind of how, even though eventually we're going to have to seriously talk about that, and that'll probably be way past my tenure, but seriously needs to be serious conversation going on with that. But Fairview was built in 1984. Everything else is, I think Huntsville Middle was in the 90s. The elementary school, was one thing, and I can't explain why it wasn't done all at one time. I don't have those answers.
Right.
But I know we're still committed to fixing some floors and stuff on the inside of that, to upgrade what needs to be upgraded on the inside, to help there. Plus, like I said, guys, we're committed to the playroom.
Unless I'll throw another number out at you there. Stone Memorial been in existence 10, 12 years?
Yeah, probably so.
The property was donated. They spent $28 million to build the school and the facilities there.
That same school today.
Yeah.
It
would be 40, 50 million.
Well, I was talking to a guy that's the director of Loudoun County about a month ago. They're in the process right now. They've bought some land inside of Lenore City. They're going to build a new school for Loudoun County. So I was asking him, Mike, Gary, and I call him Miguel. I said, Miguel, tell me what you're going to be, $50 million for your new school? He laughed. He's a property now about $110 million. So,
and we've been popping up some other support, other words of support about, a lot more money being spent in other places. So, good balance on both sides of discussion there. A couple of things. One, this is Gina Lawson-Webb. Her question is, how do you prioritize what projects are the most important and when they will get done?
Oh, we started, like I said, when I first came into office, Gina, and again, that's a great question. We did a list. We do a 5-year list of capital projects we wanted to do, capital projects we thought we could take on as the board, capital projects we wanted to bring before the county commission. We realized, and nothing against county commission, we realized we were going to, now, they did help us some awnings and stuff, things of those natures, but we realized we were going to do these projects. We sit down with a board when we do this. We prioritize with a need. We always look at the facility. We prioritize when's the last thing something was done. And we know Huntsville Elementary has been a long time. This playroom it's been there since the 80s that we can best figure. We've gone in and redone a lot of the floors in there, and we still plan on doing some more. They all new HVAC units in there. We know it's time, so we get this done for there. But we prioritize by need base. And we're not always going to be right. But, we kind of set the forth that, this was part of our list that's been on there too. But we just felt like now was a time when we could do both projects. So
can I add something real quick? Right, you mentioned Huntsville.
He cut me off.
And the I'm sorry about that.
Go ahead.
The original elementary school over there, I got to attend that school, and we walked from the old Huntsville school. Mm-hmm. They were building the elementary school over there in January of 1962. We walked through the snow carrying our books to the elementary school over there. So that far eastern part of that building has been there since 1961 and 2.
I was there in the early 70s, so I understand. I know. And, I cried when they tore down Huntsville Middle. Yeah. The old Huntsville High School. I cried. I mean,
so I told you my age, so you don't have to ask me anymore, okay?
No, I didn't have to start with,
that building was sentimental to me.
Yeah.
The playroom has been talked about over and over and over tonight, but you just brought it up again. I'm not trying to step on Tim's toes, but I didn't see this comment queued up on his screen here, so I thought it might have slipped by him. But someone asked, but don't you think that the playroom in Huntsville needs to be done now instead of the turf field, so why can't you fix it first? But as you pointed out, it's not either project. Or. Yeah. They're being done together.
They're being done together, and we had to bid the project at Huntsville Elementary. We did not at the turf because it's Sourcewell, and it's not a thing of had we could have got everything to us with the architect, got it done, we could have already had that project started probably, but it wasn't a thing of who gets this first or that first. We're gonna get them done. That's the thing. We're gonna get these done.
And for folks who might have tuned in late, that has been in the architect's hands. You just got
that
back.
I got some. I didn't get the schematic plan, but I got some drawings.
Then the architect is going to be at your work session on April the 30th.
I'm going to sit down with the committee. We'll go, if I can get Mr. Hill there a little early, sit down with the committee, see what they like, don't like, get some suggestions, get it to him back quickly. We get the bid process in, and then we'll go from there.
let's go with a little more fun question, okay? This one comes to us from Bradley Brooks. Any talks of being able to host the middle school state championships once you get the turf field here?
As far as we're talking soccer, we're talking football, or
I believe they're probably talking about that middle school football game that's played over at Campbell County.
That'd be some things we could have some great discussion. I know that Johnny Bruce is the league area coordinator, I guess you would say, for the TMSAA. It would be, and again, I would like to get some other facility upgrades. Probably that would be, we talked about some of those type of things. But yeah, I mean, that would be some great discussion to sit down with Mr. Bruce, because
I think those are bid out every so often, aren't they? For 2 or 3 years.
I think it's just they kind of have an agreement. I know that
centralize it.
They said, well, they have. I think they use it. Campbell County Stadium, seats several thousand. And you have schools from Gatlinburg, you have from Ray County. As far as the district that our schools will be in now, of course, the Birchfield will be in with most of Morgan County schools. I think with Huntsville, Fairview, Robbins being in the 3A, they'll be in with Jacksboro, La Follette. I think Gatlinburg's part of that in there now, along with I think Cumberland Gap's 2A. I'll have to kind of look and see. Kingston, Cherokee Middle is part of the 3A group. And there's a couple more schools in there. And I actually went to the meeting this year and to sit down and watch and to listen and kind of learn kind of what the process, what they would do with the scheduling and those type of things. And as usual, I saw coaches trying to finagle and go on. And I watched one coach go over and schedule Birchfield. He leaves Birchfield, goes over there and schedules Huntsville, comes back and says, I can't play you now. And I watched that going on. And our plan was to go over there and not play each other.
Yeah.
That was a plan. I said, we're not going to play each other this year, guys. So we get over there, and guess what? We have 2 teams that don't have a game. That's Birchfield. That's Huntsville. So we're going to play, and hopefully the schedule is going to be at get that played at Sky High. We're going to let them utilize that field as much as possible once it's done. But that's a great question, Bradley. I hope we can.
A couple of questions along the same lines. Let me pop them both up here. The first one comes from Summer Botts Wilkins. Sports help keep kids out of trouble. It's a great opportunity to build a football program, help students have a sense of community that they may not have elsewhere. And then the other one, similar lines, comes from Dustin Burke. How do we regain interest back into sports, period, such as football? Is there studies done on this? There has been a lot of drop in participation.
And it's not just here. That's
right.
Nationwide. And I think a big thing is, you throw in just go ahead and say it, the concussion things with it. But I think that there's been a lot of improvement in the helmet. There's been a lot of improvement in the equipment. And I mean, there's been a big emphasis on not to use the crown of the helmet.
Right. Technique.
The technique, the tackling wise and all that. I remember when we played in it, it was, everybody used the crown. That was a thing. And I can't tell you how many times my ears were ringing, throughout. It's probably what my problem is now, but, you loved it. And that was just a thing of, but now, with so much in it and so much study going into that, they're making the game safer. Still a violent sport, but they are doing some things to make the game safer.
So a couple of big picture questions that are along the same lines. The first one from Janet Lau. Is there ever an opportunity to build a new high school for Scott County? Then where would it be located? And then also thinking about time for a new Scott High. Is this current Scott High big enough to accommodate high schoolers without growth in Scott County? Would it be better to use money to adjust the size of Scott High? Now, most schools right now are experiencing shrinking growth with the homeschooling, right?
Since
are you doing is it the same for you?
We've lost a lot to the after the COVID. We kind of stayed steady last year or two. We were close, 2,770 kids. We're right now, we started the year about 2,387. Now, we've had a lot of early graduates at Scott High. Of course, Miss Leetta does a fabulous job. She gives me a daily attendance report in our system daily. So I know what our attendance is every single day because of Miss Leetta over here and what we do. And that is now, it used to be you were funded at the end of the year, the students you have. Now you're funded on monthly. as these students graduate early, we still get to keep them and count them toward our attendance. So we're going to be, I think we were at 2357. This new attendance, we're about 16 less. We think we're going to, eventually start to see some growth. I think our schools are performing well. I looked at Winfield. They've gained 32 kids this year from last year, so we're seeing some growth there. Everyone else is kind of maintaining. But they had some small classes that was there. We're going to, the last small class is moving out. They have, all of our schools, guys. We teach everything that everybody else across the state on the Tennessee state standards does.
So, and we do have a slowdown a little bit in the questions. So if you've got one to get in, you're welcome to put those in. We have it on Facebook on the Independent Herald feed and on YouTube. Is that right? I'm saying that right. Now on YouTube, it's on the IH Sports Network feed. If you want to get a question in, we'll try to get those in. I did have a question just of logistics.
Yes.
With the field, it's going to be multi-use. You're going to have soccer, you're going to have football, and field lines. How is that done? And then also the most important question.
Yes.
What's the logo going to be in the middle? You're going to have a coonskin cap in the middle, or what are you putting there?
We're putting the rifleman. Okay. I have it in my pocket right here, guys. I show you guys. There will be a differentiation between the soccer line and the football. We're taking the turf is coming all the way over to the home bleachers. Okay, all the way down. Okay, it's going all the way to there.
That widens the sideline.
Widens the sideline, which is going to now you're going to get close to that 65-yard soccer field that you're wanting. Plus, you're going to get about almost the entire length what you can get in a soccer field also too. The soccer lines will be right now. It looks like gray, a silver soccer line on the outside of the field. Anything on the inside with a box will be gray. The field itself will have a differentiation of a light color green and a dark color with the turf. The numbers will be white trimmed in red. We'll have Highlanders. The end zones will be red with Highlanders in both end zones. There'll be a box. The coaching box right there will have Scott in each one on the sidelines. And like I said, in the rifleman will be the logo in the middle. It'll be trimmed in white. So, and if we'd always sell advertisement, people won't give a lot of money and stuff, put the name on there. We're always open to those type of things too. Okay. So, Tim Smith wants to give him $50,000 or so. We'll put your name on it.
You're talking about Dr. Tim Smith at Grace Primary. Let me be clear.
And that's not painted on, is it? I mean, for the lines, they actually changed the color of that synthetic layer there.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
So it's permanent. There's no erasing that off.
We think we have a beautiful product. I'll say that we sit down with our coaches, got their input along with Principal Hamby, Mr. Henry, Ms. Morgan Boyd. Everybody had a key in looking in it, but mainly our football coaches as far as with that. We think that it's a beautiful design. We think that it's going to be a beautiful facility, and we think that it's going to be something that everyone can be proud of.
Something I saw on one of the comments back that spurred the interest in having this that Ben alluded to on Facebook, and of course I was in the band. I'm a big fan of the band, and my kids were in the band. And somebody was talking about, well, couldn't this money be spent to buy an extra instrument for the band or something like that? As we talked about at the beginning, this is coming. It's going to happen.
Yes.
So it's time to shift the thinking into how do we perhaps use this field to make that happen. And a thought I had was, they have marching band competitions in a lot of places, but a lot of the local bands don't have a place to go. You have a marching band competition that weekend. You get the entry fee. You get the concessions.
Scott
County gets the traffic.
And it goes for your band program.
And with turf, it's rain or shine.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about it.
And can I say this much too, guys? We also give $10,000 per year to each band program. We do it each year. That'll be, and we'll look to start, if we could, we'll look to start giving some more. That comes from the budget. We budget that out to when we do that, and we give it to each band throughout the year. So we try to help buy instruments.
So this has always been an interesting question. It comes from Dustin Burke. Even though it comes from Dustin, it's still interesting. My wonder is how much retention is kept moving from storm football to middle school and then on to high school. And I think that's part of your reasoning for the middle school programs working together to run the same things, right? This should be a feed.
We're trying to get more of a feeder line system directly that we had more input as we sit down with our new coach. Of course, they know who that is, and I'm sure there was always questions with that too. But we sit down on the hiring process. We want to get somebody who's going to look to not – you don't have to run the exact same thing, but implement a similar system, implement the system that is foreseen that we can only grow from, and we'll also want them coaches to also have the freedom to coach what they feel like is good, And, you sit down with some of these guys, you learn from them. Because I'm telling you what, we have some sharp dudes in there right now that are going to lead these programs, and they got really, really good offensive minds. And that was a plus. That was a seller for me, just listen to from an offensive perspective and defensive side too. But we wanted to get people who could their process was, we're going to build this for Scott High School. As far as retention, we're keeping probably, I think last year, I'm trying to think, our sophomore class is pretty good size this year. We're getting, 8 to 12 is probably coming through. I speak from mine. My son didn't play Storm because he was smaller than everyone growing up. But I made this conscious decision that I would teach him and mold him and train him. I want to be trained till he got to that point. He's been very fortunate to play with some great people, that helped him along the way, and with great teammates as he started to grow. I mean, that was my personal decision that I made at that point in time. A lot of people look there as a place for him. If you're playing something, guys, it don't matter whatever it is.
Exactly. Do
something. It's football, soccer, band. Be active and take part in the school.
Or a combination of two or three.
Combination, get involved in a club, get involved in an activity. Do those things, but take part and take pride in your community and your school. So, I mean, I'm a big proponent of all. So,
Michelle Terry's story, she's volunteered me to head up the band competition. So, I'll help out if I can.
Yeah,
I'll do what I can.
I tell you what, that's a great thing. We get both schools, we can look to do that. I mean, that's a tremendous idea right there, guys. Tremendous.
Back to questions. How will the priority use of the field be? Will it be Sky High teams first, then middle school, then Storm, then soccer?
Yes.
Scott High? Who decides that?
That'll be with Scott High School administration. Of course, Scott High will have the first priority. And we're going to schedule from there. Scott High don't have football games on Saturday unless by some chance you have a lightning storm that hits and you can't play through lightning. Can't do that, and there's no let up, and then you have to maybe move a game to a Saturday. At that point in time, we'd have to adjust. Scott Hall have that priority. Middle schools, they normally play on Thursday. So Storm's on Saturday. Our girls soccer, and we'll always work our football schedules around what our girls soccer is doing also too. Because like I said, they're going to have the first priority. If it's a home game on Thursday, then we won't be able to play a middle school game on that night unless we play the girls game, because they normally start at 6. So depending on what time anybody want to play, if it was local, we've discussed a lot of things, double header games with middle schools.
Yeah,
we've discussed a lot of things.
Thinking about that.
But we'll see. But right now Scott High, of course, we'll have the first priority, and then we'll schedule from there.
I'm not big on theoreticals because they could go a million different ways. But I'm going to throw this one in anyway. Okay, Diana and Kenny Richardson. If the bid comes in at 1.6 for the Huntsville Elementary Gym, and the board pays $500, commission approves $500, will you find the rest of the money to get it done?
Absolutely. That's what we're doing. We're going to get it done. Right. Unless there's something astronomical out there that can't be done. You know what I'm saying? We're hoping that we can get this thing done in a good price and a good thing and in a good way. We're committed. So guys, that's what we're wanting to do.
Good comments, good questions from the audience.
Wonderful, and very appreciative, guy. And I understand people's concerns. Maybe people probably don't see everything that we've done as far as the process we've gone through to do this. But we've not. When I came to Ben, I guess months ago, we talked about this. We weren't trying to hide anything. We weren't trying to do anything. We felt like we were in a good enough position where I felt like, and I said the comment then, I wanted 2 things I really want to get done before I leave. And I've been in this game 35 years, guys. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and there's a lot of things I want to do later in life to where I can. So these are some things we want to get. And then we have some other things too we'd like to get done. But it's a thing to where we felt like at this point, if we don't do it now, we don't think it'll get done. So,
question. This one hasn't been asked online, but it is one that I picked up today that I wanted to ask you about. Is this reversible? I mean, if you see that this field isn't what you want, isn't working, I mean, is there a way to reverse this once it's done?
Yeah, be hard. So we're committed to this.
Okay.
We're committed to this. And I don't see anyone that's put something down that has regretted the process.
Alcoa would be an example of that. They just had to replace theirs. They didn't go back to grass.
They didn't go back to grass. They went back to the new turf.
And they've got the funding to do whatever they want.
Whatever they want. And I'll say this much too is the company that we're working with is also going to have to go back now. He probably won't care me sharing this, but they're going to have to redo some stuff with what's been in Knoxville. Some of their schools are. They're going to go and do some stuff there because of the number that's for the end zone space and those type of things. Maybe even I don't know. But like I said, this is a great company we feel very strong with, and it's if you know anything that I do, guys, I'm not going. We got it. We're not going to nickel and dime it. We're going to try to do it right, and so.
And we've satisfied a lot of the questions, but you may find one you've got more of an eye.
Well, now I did see one from Tyler Housley, and you may have missed that. So I want you to, before we leave here, I want you to go back and look that one up. He had a question.
There's only 7 pages.
Specifically for.
I mean, if you remember it, you always could just go ahead and ask it.
Do you want me to just ask it? I'll just ask it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Tyler says, Coach Hall.
Yes.
Will you finally admit that Peyton Manning was a better quarterback than Brett Favre?
I'm kind of – come on, Tyler. Come on, man. I'm a lifelong Green Bay Packer fan, but I'm also a fan of the UT Vols. And I'll say this. I grew up – I'll tell a story, and I'll hush. I grew up a University of Notre Dame fan. And I'll tell you this why, because my 2 uncles, Ned and Hubert Duncan, God rest Hubert's soul, and Ned, who's, just a favorite of so many, and Bill Duncan, my first cousin, they hated Notre Dame. So me being a 7, 8-year-old pest, as I was, but loved football, fell in love with Notre Dame, simply because number one, to aggravate.
And they run every Sunday.
Every Sunday with Notre Dame playback. So, but as I've grown and I've gotten, in life right now, I'm orange, especially with UT basketball, man. I'm so excited with that. But Tyler, as far as back to your question, man, Peyton was great. He's the greatest that stepped on over at UT, and he's probably one of the top 4 or 5 in the NFL. But I don't know if I can give him kudos over my man or not.
So you're saying that Brett Favre may not be in the top 5?
Well, if I being serious right now, if you ask me to rank a top 5 quarterbacks in the history NFL, and I'm going to be serious. I'll take Brady. I'll take Peyton. I'll take Rodgers. Then he's somewhere close in there. Then I'll probably go Emma Favre. And then I'll probably look at a Marino. And then
not Joe Montana?
Montana probably. Yeah, I'll take Montana. Okay. A lot of people say Montana's the greatest. But these guys, and Montana played in a different era. He plays a Notre Dame guy too. But he played in a different era of football to where, when I guess Bill Walsh brought in the West Coast offense and the short passing game, and plus he had 2 great receivers and, great running backs to work with. But he was just the coolest of cool out there under pressure situations. And he'd probably be 5.
I think this is a debate that's going to take us longer than we have. Yeah. I will say this: we said at the opening of this tonight that
and Tyler, I did have him number 2, by the way.
People have different opinions, and that's fine. We all have
respect them.
We have different but air the grievances, talk about it.
Absolutely.
I appreciate. Coach Hall, there's not one question you've said, hey, if they pop that one up, don't ask it.
Yeah.
He doesn't preview the questions, and I appreciate that. And your answer may not have made them happy, but you answered it.
Absolutely.
And so, that's one of those things, just like this debate. In fact, I'll bet you never dreamed you would be going to Green Bay for a football game and cheering against Green Bay.
First time ever.
But you're going to be doing that.
I'm going to be doing that Friday night. I am.
Couple more quick questions I want to throw in there. I think I know the answer to this, but Nathan Daggs asked, was there any donors like they had in Knoxville, like Pilot Flying J? Did you have any donors?
No, we did not. And as I mentioned, Nathan, we did reach out to the Haslam Foundation. So, no donors.
Okay, and then Jeff Morgan asked, besides the field, and you may have covered this, but we'll just recap it for him, any other upgrades or just the field itself?
Just the field at this time at Scott High School, Jeff. We have some other things we want to do later.
Goalpost.
Goalpost. We get a new goalpost.
They won't tilt from side to side.
Listen, that's them things coming down. I have to take credit for that. We bought those years ago. At the time, the NFL goalpost, it was good, but as that ground is soggy and that ground is, you'll see what's happening to the goalpost. They lean, they're coming forward, and we'll get new goalposts. So that is part of the process.
Oh, I accidentally hit a button and put Dustin's comment up there. Sorry about that, Ben. Okay.
We know how Dustin is.
Yeah,
okay?
we
just
do.
ignore anything
we
he
do.
says.
That's, of course, that's just a mistake.
Yeah, right.
But it's like opinions. Some people have that opinion,
Absolutely.
I guess. I don't know.
We
won't take a vote or anything.
You know what they
like
say
that.
about opinions.
There we go. But that seems to have exhausted the questions. They've slowed way down. So if you guys have any summary notes.
Well, and I think just to summarize as you close out, after Rick has his say, that would be great. There were a couple of late questions came in that you've already answered. One was, what would the yearly up cost of the turf be?
Yes.
You said that it will be almost zero.
Yes.
Someone else says, someone else says, what about the roof leak and the HVAC deal at Scott High? Those have both been fixed.
Yes. Anything as far as the roof leak, we've replaced every roof at Scott High School. Now, we had some things that where Johnson Control's been working in there, getting our HVAC finished and down in the little theater pod that was put in 2002. It's all computerized. And we had some vents that wasn't closing or dabbers wasn't open all the way. So we've had people, Mr. Shannon's had people in there. We think we've got all that taken care of. And that's at our cost. We do that. If we have a leak, guys, we get a maintenance request, and our guys are on it. Most of these roofs are now under warranty. So the company has to come back out. And as far as if we get that, they take care of that.
And Hayden Bird said, when are we going to get a Jumbotron, Coach?
Tell Hayden Birds, if he'll start that fundraising project right now, I'll be right with him. Love you, Hayden. That's one of our best right there, guys. Man played it like it should have been played.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Rick, you got anything you want to close with?
Well, just to say this right here, if anybody really wants the civics lesson, just call me sometime about funding, about this, about that. I'll give you the civics lessons, including the civics lessons you don't want to hear.
And we're always open, guys. My phone is I'm always there. People can come in. We'll sit down. We'll go with the budget coordinator. We'll sit and we'll and look. I've got a list of what we've done and showed for the past since I've been in the office. And there was a lot of things done before I came in also too. Like to say the new bleachers for the basketball. There's a lot of things that were done and stuff for there. So we're all time wanting to upgrade our facilities. And, the biggest thing is we deserve it. Our kids deserve to be put in the best. And we need to stop this negative thinking about, well, it's okay to play. It's not. It's okay. We should want to have more. We should want more for our kids. We're doing a great job. Both systems doing a great job educating kids. And the sad thing is right now our kids having to leave in order to get – I got two daughters that are working out of town, that are physician assistants. But they got their education through Scott High School. I got two other daughters, one living in Sevierville that works with the park and one now working with the bank. One was educated at Oneida, one educated at Scott High School. So, we're proud of that fact, but we would like to get some things where they can stay here.
So I'm looking at the comment Tim has got on the screen, and Janet Lyle says that Rick Keaton is so knowledgeable. And, Tim got complimented. Rick gets complimented by Janet.
It's true.
And all I got's doggone Dustin Burt. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's unfair.
Some things are out of our control.
But no, I do. You brought up the civics part. I thought of this earlier, and I know it's past Tim's bedtime. My clock just hit 8 o'clock. Sorry, Tim.
No, it's true.
Bear with me one more minute. Rick, I'm not making light of this concern that people have got. It has come up, including today, not on this video, but the question was asked on another Independent Herald post. Why can't we use this money to fix roads? Explain that to people.
I'll be glad to. You may not believe this, but in Scott County, the road department receives exactly $260 $265 per year of your tax money. Counties can make a decision how much of the money that's coming that they have within their budget to put into their local road departments or county road departments. Scott County has never had that much, and so therefore all these years very little has gone into the road department budget. Yep, the road department fund comes from the gasoline tax, gas and oil tax, and that comes back. It's divided. It's figured out in Nashville. It comes back to the road department here, and that's how the road department gets it. Also, that's the same thing is true in the towns in Scott County. They get funding out of that oil and gas tax too. So
I'm going to put a bow on this with one more comment. You talk about being past my bedtime. What about this guy? I mean, I love Do It All Bull. He called you Bull Hall. I don't think he meant that on purpose.
Hi,
I just think Mark has fat fingers and can't text that in.
Was I not bragging on him earlier?
You were.
He didn't catch that part.
I think he's see what I deal with all the time.
I understand. God, let me say in closing, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to take some of Jason Terry's time. I appreciate that very much.
He's going to be so upset.
All night and not heard that.
This has been, I call it the Jason Terry Chronicles. Appreciate him allowing me to take some of his time tonight. I told him I'd give him a plug.
He was probably busy anyway and couldn't come.
Ben finally got a compliment there from Kelsey Laxton Jeffers.
That's a
Says
compliment.
you're the best at stirring the pot.
Hey, everybody's got to be good at something.
So,
we can't cook if we don't have
that's right.
pot stirrer.
That's why his nickname is Spoon. So let's remember that.
Seriously, do want to thank everyone. Thank you guys. When I started seeing some of the stuff, I called Ben. I asked Ben, I want to come on. I want to answer some things. I want people to know. This is their field. This is going to be a field I hope we're all proud of. Does it cost a lot of money? Absolutely. But, it's a thing that we can do. I've told you our commitments. I mean, with our commitments, what we'll do. And this board is committed. I'll say that much. This board, it shows you right here the list of what this board has been committed through the years to improvement of our schools. And very appreciative. I got to learn with some great people, that I got to follow and as far as some of my educational mentors, and I think of Doug Sharp, I think of Sharon Wilson, I think Curtis Bruce, I think all these people that were mentors to me. And and I wouldn't even say Ryan Keaton when I went to central office because Ryan was just starting the thing too. We kind of learned to get and grew together there. But he was in that role there for a year or two, and it was great for me. I don't know every intrinsic there is, and I'm not going to make every right decision there is. I can tell you that much. But I'll make the wrong decision with the kids at heart, and I'll always put kids first.
I want to say this too. We want to thank the school board. I mean, they make these decisions. All you do is bring it to them. They make the decisions. And for people out there that are watching, if you got a question, don't just maybe assume something. Those school board members, they're accessible. Ask them. They'll explain it to you. And if they can't, they'll find somebody else that can.
They'll call me.
I mean, so I seen the comments I've been watching for the last week. Mostly started by Spoon over here, was, when he started there, it had a whole lot to do with, maybe it's not explained at a board meeting. Well, you do that in workshops. You do that in other areas there like that. And they just, where some of the things come from, I don't know. But, talk to the school board member. After all, they're your elected representative.
They're your elected people, absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought Carlene Terry had a good post. You can go on her Facebook page and look it up and find that. She kind of addressed a lot of the concerns.
I told her I really did.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen that, go read Carlene Terry's post. If you have questions, that may be able to
absolutely.
To answer.
And I'm not a Facebooker. I have one, and I don't get on there much. I did it pretty much just to connect with some old college friends and my family. But for the most part, I read some, but I don't delve my time in it because I have other things to do. And so with that being said, I know there were concerns. It was sent to me, and it's great concerns. And that's why I immediately wanted to get on here, and I appreciate everybody. Like I said, we can all agree, disagree, whatever, but we're moving forward, and we're hoping that this is something that we're going to look 15, 20 years down the road from now and think, wow, that's something. Mm-hmm. We're hoping the same thing with the playroom also too. So, and again, like I said, near future. Hope some other things can be done, but we'll address those when we can.
All right, Director Hall,
Sorry.
Rick Keaton, Ben Garrett, and we want to thank you for joining us. And certainly, as we said, everybody's not going to be happy. A lot of people will be happy. Some people won't be, but hopefully you feel heard and that this has been constructive for you tonight, and you've had a chance to get some questions answered, whether they were the answers you wanted to hear or not. Hopefully you're better informed about what's going on, and we thank you for joining us for this. It's been a special edition of the IH Sports Roundtable, and for all those involved tonight, thank you for joining. Thank you for caring enough to watch, and we'll see you again soon.